And duties of the heart. We are on page 503 at the part where it says assuming additional duties and restrictions. What we're dealing with is the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is trying to convince us ultimately not to follow Torah, not to follow Hashem. And so it uses devious ways to try to get us off center. And the last one was, what it's trying to do is trick us to not follow our own logic. In other words, we have logic. We know that Torah is given by God, and so on and so forth. And so what happens is it uses, and we'll see various examples of this, where the Yetzer Hara is going to try to convince us using Torah not to follow Torah. So it becomes a fun effort. Okay, so he says, if, however, you see fit to assume, to whatever extent you can, additional duties beyond what is required, provided that you fulfill those that are obligatory, that your motive is a love of piety, so that your action is in harmony with your reason and has not the remotest connection with base desire, the resolution is good. So bottom line is, if I fulfill all of my obligations, then, and I want to up the ante, if you will, then fine. That's a noble cause, but I have to do it because I want to serve Hashem without any ulterior motive. Otherwise, what's happening is I'm ruining the very action. You understand? If I do more than I'm supposed to for ulterior motives, then I'm actually ruining it, and you should just stay where you are. The best example for that, by the way, is if your parents tell you, I was said to become parents with this, but your parents tell you clean your room. And what you do is, you don't clean the room, you decide to do something else, wash the dishes. And so you go to your parents and say, I washed the dishes. But did you clean the room? No, I didn't do that. Well, that's not good. Your parents are going to be upset with you. On the other hand, if you listen to them and you cleaned your room and then you wash the dishes without them asking, that's a trick. So then that is going beyond the call of duty. And as long as you didn't throw something out that the parents need, well, they'll be happy with that. Okay? So, they'll be happy that you washed the dishes. I was already on garbage already. They'll be happy that you washed the dishes. Okay? Unless something was wrong with your parents that didn't want you to wash the dishes. Again, you have to know what they really want and what they don't. So here, if I'm going to serve Hashem and I fulfill my obligation, now I want to add something to that, knowing that I'm adding, by the way. Not thinking that I'm obligated. It's a major thing you have to keep in mind. It can't be that I believe I'm obligated. Okay? I'll give you an example. Abraham in the Torah, right? Abraham says he followed all of the 613 commandments that a Jew is obligated to follow. The problem is, Abraham is not Jewish. He's not. He's a Ben Noach. As a Ben Noach, there's 7 commandments he has to follow. Follow those 7, leave me alone. He's not allowed to add, right? No, but he says, I'm not doing it because I'm obligated to do it. I'm doing it because I want to serve Hashem at a higher level. I know I'm obligated only to 7, but I want to add for myself, not for want of reward, because I'm not going to get any, is that I want to serve Hashem. So I want to add to that. Now, by the way, that stopped. At the receiving of the Torah, that system stopped. Because Abraham, nobody was given the opportunity to get the Torah. We're the only ones, when God offered it, he offered it to all the people. Everybody, for their own reasons, said no. We're the only ones that said yes. At that point, God said, okay, so you follow the 613 commandments, B'nai Noah can only follow 7, period. And don't start adding or subtracting. Okay? But until then, he certainly did it. So that is what we're talking about. If I do, first I have to do what I have to do. And then if I want to add to that, knowing that, again, I'm adding on my own, as long as it doesn't spoil anything else, that's fine. That's what being pious is, going beyond the call of duty. So then it says, you will be rewarded for it, and in undertaking it, you do not deviate from the view of the early ones, for they have said, in Pirkei Avot, make a fence for the Torah, Why was Yerushalayim destroyed? Why was Jerusalem destroyed? Now, if I ask anybody today, they're going to tell you because of Sinat Chinam, right? Free hatred for no reason. No, the Gemara doesn't say that. The Talmud says because they based their actions on biblical law and did not go beyond the strict requirements of the law. That's what they did. So they're only following that. Said Rav Huna, whoever is involved only in Torah study is like one who has no God. As it says, for a long time Israel was without the true God. And the difference is that without both Torah and acts of loving kindness, well, they're probably saying grace, but it's acts of loving kindness, one is without a true God. So I have to not only learn Torah, but I have to actually follow the Torah. It's a combined thing. So one of the pious once said, whoever does no more than his duty fails in his duty. But going beyond one's duty is acceptable only after first fulfilling one's duty. That's a major thing. I have to first do my job. Our sages permitted us, even obligated us, to go beyond what is required. As it said, we add from the profane to the sacred, which is why the Sabbath, when does the Sabbath, actually, when does the next day according to the Jewish calendar begin? Sunset. Right? That starts the next day. You see stars out there, you're the next day. Okay? It's not really sunset. It's past a little past sunset, but fine. I'll give you the sunset. Okay? So it does, but it doesn't start at dawn. That's the point. It starts at sunset. So now the Sabbath starts. Let's give a time here. 6 o'clock. Okay? Sunset is 6 o'clock. So the Sabbath starts 6 o'clock. Right? Well, if I wait till 6 o'clock to bring the Sabbath in, what are the odds I'm not going to bring the Sabbath in on the right time? What are the odds? Pretty high, right? If I'm waiting till 6 o'clock, well, then I may do something and break the Sabbath. Now, if I break the Sabbath, for Jews, that is the death penalty. Now, we don't do that, obviously. We don't kill people. And the courts don't kill anybody anymore either. We have to be witnesses, a whole bunch of things. But the seriousness of that is a death penalty. Okay, so now I'm going to make a fence around that. And instead of saying 6 o'clock is when Sabbath comes in, Shabbos. Okay, we understand what I'm saying? Good. So then I'm going to say 20 minutes before I have to be Shabbos mode. 20 minutes before. So now, if I went 15 minutes into it, I messed up. I still didn't break Shabbos, right? I didn't do anything wrong. I still had I had the 20-minute spread. Now, of course, who has the alarm clocks and they want to wake up at 5:30, and what they do is they turn the clock 10 minutes ahead. Yeah, everybody ever do that? You had a clock. So what happens when you see it? Your alarm goes off 5:15 in the morning, and you really know that it's 5:05. So what do? Hit the snooze button, right? If you're going to do that, it's counterproductive. Okay, you set the clock, you did all these things so you would wake up on time. And you want to, so you don't want to mess up like that. So when it comes to Shabbos, we have a 20-minute button there, but you don't want to hit that snooze. You just don't want to hit the snooze. Okay, and that's what it means. You're adding from the profane to the sacred. And to assume additional fasting, prayer, almsgiving, and to refrain from overindulging in permitted but superfluous foods. In other words, no cupcakes. Okay, all these things. In other words, by the way, if you ever notice how people eat, we eat because we're hungry. Let's start one, okay? Although some people eat because it's social eating. But for the most part, we'll eat because we're hungry. Then what happens is you serve dessert or whatever you're going to serve. And people feel obligated. My wife calls it the clean plate club. Right? Whatever is put in front of you, you have to eat. Because we all have the concept of people are dying in Indonesia or wherever the country that your parents picked on, and people are starving there, so you have to finish your food. Okay, so, but let's be honest, we're eating more than we have to eat. If we wouldn't, then we'd all be in great shape. We'd be we wouldn't have to worry about working out and so on and so forth because we'd only eat what we're supposed to eat. But so here, he's saying if you refrain from overindulging, again, it's permitted food, but it's just superfluous. That's how they're defining piety. Okay? So the rest of us, I guess, we're not, at least for me, I'm not pious, I guess. Because I eat this filthy foods. So they cautioned against swearing in God's name, even in regard to the truth. That's something else. How do you make an oath? By the way, they used to say in courts, do you swear by
solemnly oath?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but so help you God, right? They don't say that anymore. They took out so help you God. They say, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? I was in a court, so I saw that, and I thought, now I don't know if they took it away because people are atheists and so on, so I don't know where that, was it politically correct or not, but it's really very interesting that the secular world is catching up with the Torah's world that says you don't use God's name in that. You stay away from using God's name because it's such a desecration. And it's also making God's name, worthless if you're going to start doing this. So you want to, that's why we say Hashem. We don't even say God's name in the proper way. So, except when we're praying or if I'm reading Torah, so I have to say it properly. But otherwise, we don't want to say it. We don't say it in the bathroom. We want to show sanctity for it. So that is what he's saying. They cautioned against you swearing in God's name, even in regard to the truth. They said you shouldn't talk too much, even if one speaks no falsehood. So you should be measured with your words. And here people love to talk. Discussing other people's affairs, even if our remarks are not disparaging. Praising someone extravagantly, even if he deserves it. Speaking contemptuously and loathingly of those who fall short in their observance, even if they deserve such treatment and similar matters, we shouldn't do it. That's the point. If you really want to be pious, again, you're talking about pious, it's going beyond the call of duty, so this is what you should be refraining from or doing, depending on positive and negative. Now, he says, it is now proper to illustrate the second kind of temptation, noted at the end of chapter 4 of this gate, with examples from which the rest of the cases may be deduced, so that a person may be weary of them with God's help by knowing them. Because for every form of good, there is a scourge that can destroy it. Whoever knows of the various afflictions that undermine right conduct will know how to avoid them. But he who knows only the good will not retain any of it because of the ills that beset it. In other words, I have to know the negatives of what I'm about to do. I have to think that through. You were talking about, before we went online, you were talking about not buying an old fixer-upper. Okay? We all have seen, I never saw the show Fix This House, Sell This House, Flip This House. Okay, the only reason I know about to Flip This House is they used to sell it on the radio here. If you want to meet blank, whatever the guy's name was, and learn how to flip houses like they did on TV, come to this seminar, blah, blah, blah. So that's why they said, what is flipping the house? And I went online. Okay, that's flipping a house. Very good. Okay. So, but it was education that people like to do that. But nonetheless, I watched that Flip This House. What happens, they take a garbage home, and they don't tell you how they're investing. They don't tell you anything else, but they put their money and they fix it up, and then they sell it for an amazing amount of money. And look how much I made. I made $50,000 or $60,000, $100,000 in profit. If we could all do that, by the way, we'd all be in good shape. But the bottom line is, it doesn't work that way. When you're flipping a house, you usually get 20, 30, whatever % of what you're going to put in. You're making mega bucks, okay? At least from the people who I know flip. They're not rich people yet. They have to sell a lot of homes. And on top of that, there's, like you said, there's a money pit. I have to know exactly what I'm looking at. There's a lot that goes into this sort of thing. So, but if I'm just going to his seminar, they don't tell me that. They don't tell me the problems. They give me they want to sell me, so I'll buy their product and so on and so forth. And so if I don't go online, YouTube it, and Google it and everything else, and say what are the negatives, then the odds are they're going to get me. And that's what he's saying. You have to know, you want to do something good, realize there's a negative side to that. There's always, like I said, there's always a good and bad side. We have to just know how to balance that. But I have to know what's coming down the pike. So that's what you say. You have to know that. Now, one of the pious used to instruct his disciples, first learn what is evil in order to avoid it, and then learn what is good and do it. That's an interesting statement. As Scripture says, plow up your unplowed field, do not sow among the thorns. Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai said, in regard to fraudulent weights and measures, woe to me if I speak of them, and woe to me if I do not speak of them. He loses no matter what he does. If I speak of them, it's no good. If I don't speak of them, it's no good. He said, if I speak of them, cheats might learn of them. If I don't speak of them, the cheats might say the Torah scholars are not familiar with our practices. So again, you're going to lose both ways, right? So I don't know what. So what should I do? What do you think you should do before I go on? You think you should speak? Oh, don't cheat. He's cheating. He's looking. Should he speak about it or shouldn't he speak about it? What do you say? Should he? If he speaks about it, remember, if he speaks about it, that means that the people will learn how to cheat. If he doesn't speak about it, he's afraid that they're going to say, oh, so the rabbis don't know my tricks. So what should he do?
He should, so that if they do follow his things, they can't later on say he didn't tell me not to.
Okay. And where did he get that from? What we just said, right? I have to know the negatives before the positive. I have to know the pitfalls. So he said later, the question was asked, did he speak of them or not? He said, I don't know what to do. So the answer was given. He did speak of them, basing a decision on the verse from Hosea, for the ways of God are straight, and the upright walk in them, but transgressors stumble in them. So again, you have to know, you have to tell everybody what the downfall are, what the problems are, the downfalls, and the pitfalls, and the good part. If you do that, you're all set. Yeah.
So remember, you're saying, this is kind of going way back to the beginning of this whole topic.
Go for it.
You're saying that Noachites aren't allowed to be pious or go beyond then? So like a Noachite couldn't keep parts of Shabbat or Kashrut?
Yes. According to the yes, I'm saying that. According to the rabbis, again, after the giving of the Torah at Mount, keep translating my mind, I'm sorry. Giving the Torah at Mount Sinai, according to many opinions, the opportunity for going beyond the call of duty was not given. Now, with that said, within the 7 laws, if you would add to those 7 laws, I'll give you an example. In reality, one of the laws is not to honor your parents. There's no, out of the 7 laws, there's nothing to honor your parents. But it's common sense. So if you're going to do that, fine. You should do that. I mean, that's something that just goes with the logic of it. And that comes from loving God. And that would be it. I recognize God. So out of that, since God is partners with my mother and father, or our partners, and through that they created me. So I owe my parents just as I owe God, I owe my parents. So from that you could derive the concept of honoring your parents. But you should know there is no commandment. And by the way, I didn't know that until I spoke. I was in Maine, and I spoke at some sort of army school. I don't know. They wanted me to come speak about 7 laws. And one of the guys, I don't know if he did it to shock me or what it was, but he said, "I hate my father. If I'd see him, I would kill him." And I didn't know how to answer that. I never thought about honoring the parents anyway. Say it again.
The negative part?
Right, I never thought about it. And when he said it, it caught me off guard. And I just said, "I'm sorry to hear that." What do you say to that? I don't know what he was trying to get from me. But then I started to think, and not in front of them. I didn't get into that. But when on my drive home, I was thinking, does he have an obligation He can't kill his father, fine. But does he have an obligation to honor his father? And the answer is no. Again, rabbinically, if you will, piety, yes. Piety, yes, I would say yes. But in reality, no. He doesn't like his father. Now he has to speak to his father again. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. When it, right. Don't listen. Okay. You're going to listen. You're going to respect me or I'll kill you right now. Okay. But no, so when it comes to Shabbos or anything else, the answer is no. One should not follow that. And kashrut, by the way, again, because of, you picked on a lot of things with that one question. So I'm saying for kashrut, for kosher, you cannot eat a limb from a live animal. So that puts you into a situation where you have to gets you into laws of eating. But you wouldn't have to buy kosher meat. In other words, you just, you could buy the, what's the store here? Martin's. Many times I go back to Boston with my school, with my stores, but that would be Shaw's. But you could buy it at Martin's, which I can't. I mean, not kosher food, and it's it's not a problem. At the same time, you couldn't eat Rocky Mountain oysters. That's on the trail. That's
who would want to eat them anyways?
Oh, apparently people like them. I don't know. Rocky Mountain oysters. What is that?
That's the assumption that the whole animal hasn't been killed.
Well, they don't actually. They don't kill it. That's the whole problem. They don't kill it. They just right. And
or a rubber band.
Whatever they're doing. But when I first heard Rocky, I said, "What is that?" And they told me, I said, "Whoa." I don't know why people like certain drinks, but yeah. So, like I said, you have to. The best book that I can tell you is The Path of the Righteous Gentile, which I can give you the author in my office. But he goes through a lot of it, and like I said, within the 7 Noah commandments, there's a good amount of other stuff that one should be doing, and certainly when it comes to the civil laws, it's all the same. Okay. That answers the question? Okay. So you said we're on page 507. Did I finish that? No. Okay. So he says, I say then that if the evil inclination fails in its attempts to raise doubts in your mind on all the points mentioned so far in this gate, it will argue with you about them, citing objections and proofs, in order to discredit your true notions. When you perceive the falsity of its position and the weakness of his arguments, so that it cannot stand up to you or disprove what you know to be true and correct from what has previously been mentioned in this gate, it will then try to tempt you and cause you to err in your own soul. So in other words, they can't get you, right? So you think Yetzer Hara is going to go away. Game's not over yet. It says, it's going to say to you, I am so happy that you reached such a state that your faith is so strong and your heart is undivided toward God. You have already attained a degree of piety unequaled by anyone else in your generation. Oh, does that make you feel good? How would that make you feel? You are the best person. Nobody's like you. Right? You're walking around. Yes, that's me. That's me. Okay. You got me. You pegged me. Okay. This is more than enough, and it still goes. This is more than enough in an expression of your gratitude to the Creator for His kindness and grace. You should also conduct yourself so as to fulfill some of your obligations to human beings. For as you know, they can further your interests or bring you harm. And as you have found out, if they are pleased with you, you will have honor. But if they are angry with you, you are headed for oblivion. And you should therefore try to do what will please them so as to win their favor. I'll give you a proof. As our masters of blessed memory said, anyone in whom the spirit of his fellow creatures takes pleasure, the spirit of the omnipresent takes pleasure. So isn't it worthwhile for you to make the other people happy? Now, when you stop this case there, somebody says to you, let's go back to kosher. Somebody says to you, let's go to the pizza store. Now, pizza, unless it's made kosher, is not kosher. So if I go to Bruno's or any one of these other pizza, I know Bruno's because I pass it, but the one in Walmart would be the same. Whatever the pizza place is called, Sabaros, I think they call it, whatever. But if the guy says to me, be part of the family, come with us. No, I can't come. It's not kosher. Do you know you're breaking up the family? What happened? Yeah, it's important. What kind of family you want? Leave me alone with the family. But that's what people like to do. They try to get you to show how good you are. Come on, you can have a salad. There you go. Sit with us. Do this, do that. The answer is no. No, but he's saying. But it says anybody who's people love you, Hashem loves you. What's the best way to make people love you? By doing what they want. That's the Yetzer Hara. You are the greatest person in the world. And you're so pious. And a way to really get yourself pious is to make people love you. Right? That's what he's trying to convince you. And again, he quotes a mission to you. It's tremendous. You think, sounds good. Sounds good. I like that. So Rav Bachya says, answer it this way. What good will it do to me to find favor with one who is as weak as I am? He's a weak person who does not have the power either to help or to harm me. As Scripture says, forget about man whose breath is in his nostrils, for on what account is he? That's from Isaiah. Even if such a debt did exist, how could I satisfy all of my contemporaries, which I cannot satisfy the members of my when I cannot satisfy the members of my household, much less other people? You ever try to please, what's the expression? When you try to please everybody, nobody's happy, right? I please who I can. That's the end of it. But I'm never going to please anybody. It says about a rabbi, if everybody likes the rabbi, he's not a rabbi. And there's a teacher, a role model. He can't be. It's impossible. If everybody hates him, and the German would be a mensch. He's not, how do you say mensch? How do you say mensch? I guess. A mensch is, yeah. Is, what? No, not macho. Macho is macho man, No, a mensch is a what is it?
Gentlemen.
That's the closest we can get. A mensch is so much more than that. Okay.
Individual.
Okay, I don't know how to say it, but it says that the rabbi's not a mensch. If everybody hates him, he's not a mensch. In other words, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But if you like everybody, you're also not a good teacher. Some people are not going to be happy with what you say. It's just the way the ball bounces, okay? So you have to stand by your principles. So that's actually from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter who said that. He said, okay, so let's go back to that. As to what you quoted about the sayings of our masters of blessed memory, it does not imply an obligation to attempt to please all people. Rather, its meaning is like what one of the wise men said to his son in his will. And he says, my son, it is impossible for you to win the favor of all people. Try rather to win Hashem's favor, and God will make you pleasing to people. As is written, when Hashem is pleased with a man's ways, he makes his enemies to be at peace with him. That's from Mishleh's Proverbs. Moreover, it is if someone is admired and praised by all people, young and old, and his deeds are pleasing to them, then this is proof that God, may he be exalted, has sown love for him in people's hearts and given him the good name that is on their tongues. It is something that the Creator does not do for those who hate him. It is a clear and powerful proof that God is pleased with this person. So if you want people, so what we're telling the Yetzer Hara is, you're telling me I should do it to please people. The answer is no, I'm doing it to please God. When I do it to please God, then God will make others be pleased with me. Why would that be true, by the way?
God controls.
Say again?
God controls nature and can.
Okay, controls nature, but remember we have free will. So he's not going to say, since I'm doing good, you're right. So let's not make him a pharaoh here, that he's going to harden his heart. Just make him a regular guy. So
if they see you're being a mensch, hopefully that would inspire them to try to follow the same path.
that would be right, but why would they like you? It's an interesting statement in the Torah. It says in the Torah that after all the plagues, right? So it said that Egypt, the Egyptians, liked, or it's not the exact translation, but liked or respected Moshe. Respected him after all the plagues. And the question is, what, are you crazy? I just beat you up 10 times, 10 times, and you're like me? Why do you like me? Doesn't make sense. Why do you respect me? And the answer is because everything he said came true. He never lied to them. He won them all the way through. So they had respect for that, and they had love if it were for the Jewish people. Again, they were the slaves, but they still respected that it wasn't us. It was them. It was all on them at that point, and they understood that. Now, Pharaoh, he had to keep hardening his heart, but it's the rest of them got that. So here, if I'm following God's law, and you see that, you have respect, and I don't go off the way, I don't take detours in my observance, you respect that. The world respects that. And they say, okay, this person's dedicated. We like a person who's dedicated. We know what he is. It's an interesting thing that when it comes to Orthodox Jewry versus the rest out there. So when I walk into a place, because of my kippah, so they know if they think I'm Amish or Jewish. So that's their choices. Okay, so when they find out I'm Jewish, they say, oh, but you're religious. They understand everything I'm about to do at that point on. But if they don't, but the rest of the Jewish world, they don't understand at all. People have a hard time with that. Because, wait, you follow this, but you don't follow that? Doesn't make sense. And I always tell this, one second. I always tell the story that when I was back in Maine and giving a lecture to a college, along with some other clergy, priests, and they had a whole bunch of denomination of priests there, or ministers, whatever you want to call them. And then you had one Muslim there too. But the question was on homosexuality. And so the person said, why is it that you only pick on Exodus, and it's the only thing you're following, but the rest of Exodus you don't care about? Kosher, this and that. And I said, no, and she said, no, Rabbi, the question doesn't go to you. We know that you're following everything. It's not you at all. And to the Muslim, it's not to you. You don't have those laws. It's to you guys. So all the priests, everybody else. He said, you're picking on that, but and so on and so forth. So again, people have that respect that when I walk in, again, assuming I'm not putting a baseball cap on, they know I'm Jewish, so they know already, oh, you're of that brand, so that means we know who you are, and there's no questions anymore. When I don't eat their food, if I don't sit down and listen to the disgusting language, they understand. It's because I'm Jewish. That's the end of it. He's an Orthodox Jew. We can't be here. And by the way, they'll even say to you, I think you should leave at this point because we're about to do something you wouldn't like. Okay. And I say thank you. But that's how the respect that they have. And I think that's what he's getting to. Your question?
Isn't that sort of universal? People respect those who hold by their beliefs.
Yes, it is universal.
Even if the belief isn't not in this case Judaism, but belief is just I believe this thing, and if you hold by your principles, yeah.
If you hold by your principles, I'm saying that. But I'm saying that's why I think he's saying this.
Right.
That if I'm doing it for God, then people say, oh, okay, this I can respect. I can trust you.
Right.
As compared to I'm changing my morals left and right.
Right. I'm
not consistent. Yeah, but I would say the same thing for anybody who's like that, which is why I think that they are. They would probably put the Amish in the same category because people see the Amish in that. No, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems to be that they are very committed to their beliefs. Again, anybody who's committed to their beliefs, I think that we could argue the same way with that. You know to trust them. Oh, you have your neighbor who's a good. You said a good Roman Catholic, right?
fundamentalist Christian.
Fundamentalist Christian. The point is that he gave money to somebody to do some work, not him, but he also did. And when the guy didn't do the work, he was all upset. Why didn't he do the work? I gave him the money ahead of time. So he said so Mr. Arnstein said to this person, we're both religious people. We assume that everybody else is going to, live up to the word. And we're disappointed in them. But that's what it comes down to. We assume that people are trustworthy until they prove otherwise. But again, it would have been worse, by the way, if the guy wore the garments of the religious person, or put on the religious gear and then didn't do it. That is the worst situation, by the way. That creates the ultimate desecration of God's name. Because if I do something wrong, I'm dressing like this. Well, not like this. Nobody knows me. But again, with keep up. If I'm doing that and I do something that is so egregious, you're going to look and say, that's what God's people do. Oh, I just destroyed the whole Jewish people. Forget that. Not just me. I took everybody down. And that's why you see sometimes when you have these guys who get caught doing something stupid, and we all go like this. Why? Well, don't put on religious ears and then mess everybody over. And change your name. We don't want to know you. Make yourself something else. But that's what it is. We're all embarrassed by that.
It crosses over to race as well. When you hear, a shooter, you're like, oh, please don't let him be white. Or then the black community says the same. Oh, please don't let him be black, because it really does take down your. It does.
Your
whole race or culture or
religion. Right. So that's again, you're doing that, and it's all because we set ourselves up for that. And as we all want to think that we're better than that, and then somebody does it. I'm agreeing with you. It's true, but it's just so some people. Like I said, when a Jew does it, is the whole world comes down and says, I've seen that many times. And you're thinking, leave me alone. I have no relation to this guy. What are you picking on me for? I mean, how many times have people come to me and say, how could Israel do that?
Oh.
I don't know what they do. I don't even know what they did. What are you picking on me for? I live in South Bend. I don't live in Israel. But, okay. But that's really, how many people come to an Irish Catholic and say, why are those Irish people doing that? Oh. I don't think anybody does that. I don't think they do. And so that's my point. The Jews have this perceived network. Now that's the what do you call it? The alt-right, the Nazis of the world really do believe we have a network, worldwide network. But for some reason, people think that we're all connected and that person in South Bend knows somebody in Israel. Now, it may very well be true that I absolutely do know that person, but the odds are I don't. And it seems to be, and I don't know, maybe that is in every other groupage. I don't know. I don't think that Italians think that. I don't think people think of. Well, I shouldn't say that. Probably people think all Italians are part of the mob. It could be. So I don't know. It could be that it's not just us. Maybe I'm just being.
Because everyone you see is part of the mob.
That's what.
Italian,
right.
Everybody else.
On TV.
But we aren't supposed to judge, though, no matter.
No, 100%. But I'm saying that people do that, but they perceive it that way, and that is sometimes what you have to run through. So the more that we are upstanding, and the more we work on that, and then somebody takes us down. To go with your example, somebody takes us down. It's like, I'm working so hard. What are you doing? What are you working against me for? And ultimately, again, we're working against God. So that's the ultimate, like I said, desecration of God's name. If we dress and we talk and we do this walk, and then suddenly we do something totally against it, well, you just destroyed not only yourself but everybody along the line, and you've brought God down in everybody's eyes. Because if that's what religious people do, I don't want to be religious. I'm sure you've heard that line, okay? And it's something that we all have to take very seriously. We all represent. So if you represent. Okay, so he said, moreover, if someone is admired and praised by all peoples, Oh, sorry, I did that. I'm sorry. But that a pious person should strive and labor to gain the praise of man for his service of God is not accord. It is not in accord with the conduct of is not in accord with the code of conduct of the pious. So that's how he ends that off. We don't have to worry about what other people. I don't have to worry about pleasing other people. I have to worry about pleasing God. As a result of that, I will please other people because God will have it that way. Good. So he says, beware therefore of this and other such attempts of the evil inclination to entice you, for it seeks to lead you along on this road until it has brought you down into the trap of hypocrisy. When it praises you, answer it as follows. What is it that you commend me for? That I am aware of my obligations to God? On the contrary, this is a claim that God has against me, since I failed to act in accordance with my awareness. You ever think about that? Bill once said this when we were learning, Bill over there, said when we were learning the laws of, we had a class about the laws of Noach. And he said the worst things about these classes is now I know I'm supposed to be doing. And if I don't do it, then now God has a claim. Am I quoting you? There you go. Yeah, I want to make sure. I didn't want to say something in your name without you actually saying it. But that is something that we have to deal with as Jews and non-Jews. That the minute we know what it is, we're obligated. And now if we don't follow through, then God says to us, then God can say to us individually, what happened? By the way, you can argue all you want with yourself, with your parents, with me, about everything. In other words, we give up all our rationales, but let's be honest, when we're going in front of God, you're not going to get to say, you didn't understand. It doesn't work. God shows you the videotape, if you will, and says, why? And you better come up with a good answer, and that usually is no good answer. So that's what he's saying to you, that if the Yetzer Hara is going to come and say, commend you, what are you commending me for? Do I know my obligations? If anything, it's going to work against me. Does it mean that I shouldn't learn, by the way? No. It just means I should follow through. Okay?
What's the, if you don't know the speed limit and you go faster, that you're still going to get a ticket? Is that called?
Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't plead ignorance.
But this is worse.
Yeah.
I know what the law is. Right.
That's for not learning.
Right.
I shouldn't.
Oh,
learn
okay.
that,
Right.
Even if you do.
Right. And even if I were to do so, he continues, would all of it be an adequate expression of a gratitude to the Creator? May he be exalted for the smallest of his favors toward me? After all, what is the measure of my days compared to the measure of the days of the universe? Yet not even all of those would be enough time to tell of the Creator's favors toward me. How much less, then, is it possible for me to repay what I owe to God for them? As it says in Scripture, all flesh is grass, and all his goodness is like the flower of the field. And as our sages of blessed memory have said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? But when I am for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? By the way, just so we understand what that means. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? In other words, if I don't do the mitzvot, if I don't do the commandments, who can do them for me? That's what Hillel was saying. You can't do it for me. I have certain things you can, but for the most part, I have to do it myself, and you have to do yourself. That's what makes us grow. And then he says, but if I only act on my own behalf, I only worry about me. What am I? I'm not. I have to. Part of the Torah is I have to have this commandment between me and God and between me and man. Okay, so it's called bein adam l'makom, bein adam l'adam. Between me and God and between me and man. So between me and God, I eat my kosher, I keep my Shabbos, I do all these wonderful things. But I can be stealing left and right in business. And I'm a great guy. Now you're going to say, by the way, you're seeing me. Okay, talking about desecration of God's name. Okay, you see me, he goes to services 3 times a day. He wears the skull cap. If I wear my tzitzis out, oh boy, look at this guy, okay? And I dress the part, I do all these things. I try not to speak Lashon Hara, okay, fine. Whatever the case is going to be. And I only, kosher isn't good enough. I'm at the highest level of kosher. I wouldn't eat at your house if you paid me, okay? That sort of thing. That's how kosher I am, okay? And then what happens is, I go to business, and I rip off the system. You say to me, what's going on? The government doesn't need it. Don't worry about it. They'll never know. We'll do a little whitewash here, a little there. You're going to look at me and say, but that doesn't make sense. You're religious on one hand, but not the other. Oh, God, this is man. What do I care about man? That's not religious. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a double-sided thing. It's a double-sided coin there. I have to do man and man and man and God. That's a complete Jew. That's a complete person, by the way. So it always has to be that way. And that's what he's saying here. So that's, if I'm only for myself, what am I? And finally, if not now, if I don't fulfill the commandments now, when will I do them? Now everybody says, when I get a chance to retire, that's when I'm going to start keeping Sabbath. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to come to every single class, no problem. The rabbis answer very nicely. They say, if not now, if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Because when you think you're going to do it, you may be dead. There's no time like the present. You have to do it now. And that's what Hillel was saying. He got three statements, simple statements. But they're very powerful. And something we all have to consider when we're looking at our relationship with God. And again, that means God and man at the same time. So what are we going to do? How can we carry this across in every single day of our lives? And to get closer and closer and closer and closer, we'll have to stop here. But that's really what Rav Bachya is trying to teach us at this point. And to tell the person who's trying to commend you, the Yetzer trying to commend you, that, you're doing such a great job. No. It's all right. Thank you very much for your applause. But I still have to do my job, and I have to keep growing in this matter. Okay? My pleasure.